Hi, welcome back to Bite-Sized Bible Studies. We're in Philippians chapter 2, and today we're going to look at verses 12 to 18. So let's read them together. So then, my dear friends, just as you have always obeyed, not only in my presence, but now even more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. For it's God who's working in you, enabling you both to will and to act for his good purpose. Do everything without grumbling and arguing, so that you may be blameless and pure, children of God who are faultless in a crooked and perverted generation, among whom you shine like stars in the world. Hold firmly the message of life. Then I can boast in the day of Christ that I didn't run in vain or labor for nothing. But even if I am poured out as a drink offering on the sacrifice and service of your faith, I'm glad and rejoice with all of you. In the same way, you should also rejoice and share your joy with me. Remember, Paul has just finished this wonderful section about Jesus and encouraged us to have the same mindset, the same attitude that Jesus had, and he takes us to that perfect example of Jesus. And he talks in verse 12, first of all, about our obedience to the Lord. And he says, now, having that mindset, and remember the extent of Jesus' obedience to the Father, that he obeyed, went to the cross, and died, and then was consequently exalted. He said, now, having that mindset of obedience and humility, first thing Paul says is, now work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Very famous little phrase from the New Testament. First of all, let's concentrate on this, that he says, work out your own salvation. We've emphasized so much so far the corporate aspect of our faith, which is very important. But he says, take responsibility, every one of you, for your own salvation, for your own faith. Yes, we have a corporate experience, but to personalize it for me, I have to take responsibility for my own faith. I can't piggyback. I can't get you to live my Christian life for me. You can help me and encourage me, and I can do the same for you. But ultimately, I have to work it out myself. I have to take responsibility for my own faith, as we all do. That's a very, very vitally important aspect of Christianity. And then he says, work it out. That word means to work down to an end point. It means to bring something to finality or completion. It means to accomplish something. Basically, he's saying, see it through. In our vernacular, he's saying, don't quit, don't stop short. You've started well, and from God's viewpoint, he will carry it on till the day of Jesus Christ. But he says, you have a responsibility before God not to quit. I've been a Christian for over 50 years now, and to be honest, there have been times when you think, oh, can I carry on? In times of pressure or difficulty. But I gave my life to Jesus when I was 13, and he took it. Rather, probably better to say I surrendered it to him. But God takes me at my word, and even though I've been a Christian 50 odd years now, that's great, but I can't quit. I don't stop short. I have to carry on to the end. We'll find that more in chapter 3 when Paul uses this from his own life, how he's arrived and yet still striving for more. Then he talks about fear and trembling, which seems a strange thing when we talk about that in the context of God. When the Bible talks about fear in this context, fear to do with the Lord, it's not an abject terror or a horror. That's not what he's meaning here. He's talking about what the Bible calls the fear of God, which is again a vein that runs right through scriptures, and the book of Proverbs is whole built on that phrase. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, the beginning of wisdom. And the word fear really means a reverent awe. To be in a relationship with God where he's not my equal. He is God. And it's amazing to think I serve the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, the creator of the universe, as you do. And always remember that we're dealing with God here. He's not a cuddly Santa Claus or just someone who wants to pat us on the head. He does look after us, and he's kind and he's good. But he's a holy God. Sometimes people ask me, Roger, are you ever frightened of God? And I'd have to say, yes, sometimes I am. Because when I read in the scriptures, not that if you step out of line, he'll kill you or smack you over the head at all. But he is a holy God, and he demands my respect. And to walk in the fear of God keeps you on the right path. And the word trembling means it's a trembling caused by the fear of God. Not that I'm quaking with fear. I can come boldly into his presence. I belong to him. I'm his child. We're his children. But he is a holy God. And we have to balance that reverence with that intimacy. And the Holy Spirit helps us to do both. It's a fear that really affects you. He says, let the fear of God really work in you. Now, that's not a popular concept today, is it really, in certain circles? But it's a biblical concept. God is not here just to reward me and to bless me and look after me. It's much bigger than that. That's why in verse 13 Paul says, God is working his purpose in you. See that there? He's working his purpose in you. It's important that whatever God is doing in my life, that I see this bigger picture. He's working out his purpose. Romans 8 says, verse 28, we are called according to his purpose. Now, we don't have time to talk about the purpose of God today, but if you're doing a Bible study together or just studying and thinking through, ask yourself a question. What is the purpose of God? Not just what's the purpose of God for me, what is the purpose of God? Clue for you, you'll find it in Genesis 1 when God creates Adam and Eve. And that's the purpose why we're here. And that purpose hasn't changed. But you can find that out for yourself. Then in verses 14 through to 16, Paul returns to, again, something very practical, outworking of our life, and talking about the fact that our lives count in the world. We're different. We shine like stars in the world. We're visible. We're prominent. We're showing off Jesus. And it's always important to remember that the only Jesus that people can see is us. And that's what he's saying. Live your life like that. And then finally, he talks in verses 16 to 18 to hold on to the word of life. Don't let it go. What you've been taught, what you've imbibed, hold on to it. And here Paul gives us a little glimpse into his own life, and he does that with Philippians because he shares his heart, and you'll find out more as we go along. When he says that I can boast in the day of Christ, when Jesus returns, that I didn't run in vain or labour for nothing, but if I'm poured out, then that's okay. And he gives us a little insight, and he just says, do you know what, I don't want my life to count for nothing. All the years that I've been ministering and serving the Lord, all the shipwrecks and all the difficulties and the joys and the sorrows, he says, I'm concerned that my life and my service have not been in vain, have not been a waste of time. And when you're in Christian work and Christian life, sometimes it's a bit difficult to gauge tangible results, if you like. And that's what Paul is saying. Remember, he's in prison and he has time to reflect and to think. And that's what he does here. He's not depressed, but he is thinking, has it been worth it? And then he says, verse 17, 18, do you know, when I look at you, Philippians, really I can say it has been worth it. You are a wonderful example, and I'm just grateful to God and to you. So he just gives us that little glimpse, and I love that because it gives us a glimpse into the humanity of the servants of God. So we leave it there, and then next time we'll find that Paul introduces and talks more about his co-workers and how he relates to them and how the church relates to them. So we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.